Jungkook was almost worried to see him like that if it weren't for the fact that he was hurt. And it was because of him. Taehyung never once had a sinking feeling he has in his guts. He knew he did something wrong even though he did it unconsciously. He let his anger take advantage of him. And it made him take advantage of his husband. But what he did was the worst thing any husband can do to his husband. He cheated on him, in their own house, in their own room, and in their own bed. And worst, while he was there. Jungkook, his actions were fast as he ran towards him, quick to grab his hand into a grip, but that was it. He was left speechless when he saw the red eyes of his husband. The wet stains on his cheeks. He obviously cried for hours because of him. He never felt so little in his life. For once, he thought he was worthless. He was unworthy of Jungkook's love, of Jungkook's tears. He could have tried more to understand his situation, but he listened to his own emotions first. How selfish of him, he thought. Jungkook stayed quiet, staring sadly at their hands. He wanted to slap Taehyung's hand away from holding him, but at the same time, he wanted the touch. He wanted the feeling. He wanted the heat of his skin against his. It might be burning hot now, but he still wanted it. He wanted the fire that his husband gave him even if it ends up burning him. He wanted everything, anything, that his husband would offer to him, and he would willingly accept it. That's just how much he loved him. I'm sorry, Jungkook. And what else can he do when his body started trembling again as his loud sobs escaped his mouth? He couldn't stop the tears, didn't even try to anymore because he knew it was useless. His eyes were tired of crying, but his tears were endless. What are you sorry for? He asked, a painful glint swimming in his eyes as he looks up at him. For getting mad at me for whatever reason? For suddenly ignoring me? He sounded so hurt but so mad as well, and a heartbreaking sob soon followed. Or for having sex with someone and cheating on me? Please, I know what I did was wrong, but please hear me out too. I didn't mean it. Taehyung started spouting, but who would believe that it was an accident? I told you before not to stay too close to Seokjin, but you didn't listen. I just couldn't take it anymore when I saw you two kissing that night. Now Jungkook was more confused. Who did he kiss? What are you talking about? You know that I'm incapable of cheating on you. Seokjin kissed you on the cheek and you let him despite knowing that he pisses me off. Jungkook scoffed disbelievingly. So you were jealous? He chuckled humorously, shaking his head in dismay. Taehyung shouted, displeased at how Jungkook seemed to laugh at his discomfort. Then does that mean you could do those things to me just because you were jealous? Taehyung softened at that, remembering how this was all his fault. He made his husband cry and then he blamed the reason on him. Nonsense. I let you cheat on me before, Jungkook mumbled, laughing humorously at the shocked yet confused reaction of Taehyung. What? Do you think I didn't know that at the beginning of this marriage, you were still sleeping around while I wait here for you? I'm not stupid, Hyung. I knew it all. But I let it be because what else can I do? I couldn't even talk to you. I'm sorry, Jungkook. Calm down, please. Let's talk about this properly. Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk, Hyung. Maybe now you would hear me out, right? Jungkook wiped the never-ending stream of tears on his cheeks. Before you left, I told you we needed to talk, right? I begged even if I was scared. But you left. You let your pride and immaturity rule over you. Jungkook started punching Taehyung's chest a lot of times, and the older just let him. If being jealous tells you to bring a woman home, then you could have warned me. I was left defenseless here, Hyung. I waited for you even though it took you until midnight to come home because I was worried. And don't tell me not to worry because I do, okay? Because I love you, Taehyung. I love you that this hurts so much, he sobbed, gripping his chest where his heart was located because that part hurt the most. Now it was said. Jungkook is nothing more to lose. He was already so exposed, his the truth being flaunted to Taehyung's face. He already gave him his body, let alone his heart, so what was the use of hiding anymore? He tried to hide his feelings but this happened. I love you, Taehyung. And there was no reason to get jealous because you already have my heart even before we got married. You owned it and never once returned it. His sobs got lower as he tried to breathe, slowly losing his energy as he threw his feelings over to Taehyung. To say that the man was shocked at the sudden confession was a big understatement. He was almost floating on cloud nine if it weren't for the fact that Jungkook confessed his feelings because he was too hurt to handle so many emotions at once. How could he feel happy when the man that he loved was crying non-stop in front of him, because of him? Now, he just didn't care anymore. He pulled Jungkook in a hug. The younger tried pulling away but he tightened his hold on him until he started throwing hands at him. Let me go. No, Jungkook didn't want him to let go but his anger was just over the top. He wanted him to hug him tightly, kiss him, and assure him that he was the only one that he loved. That happened because alcohol took away his common sense. But of course, only his actions would not work this time. He needed his words, and that was what exactly Taehyung gave him. He chanted the same exact words for only him to hear, the words I'm sorry, please. I love you, proving more of his feelings and emotions to him. But was that really enough? His apologies were meaningless to him because Jungkook's mind was, suddenly, already closed. Closed from his meant words and his I love yous returned. Suddenly, he didn't want to believe his fruitful words. Suddenly, he started believing the voices that were telling him that Taehyung would leave him after this. That he never loved him, would never love him. Suddenly, he was as hard as Taehyung was. His pain did that and Taehyung understood. He knew that his anger would subside. Jungkook will eventually listen to him and they will make it through this problem together. He hoped he knew. But for now, he accepted the punches Jungkook threw at him. He accepted the hard slaps and the desperate pushes. What shocked him though was when Jungkook suddenly scratched him on the face with his nails. He felt the instant sting on his cheek, and as much as he didn't want to pull away from Jungkook, he unconsciously let him go to aid his stinging cheek. Jungkook fell to his feet. Taehyung immediately regretted letting him go. Jungkook gasped for air. Crying wasn't helping him, really. It was making him feel worse than he already was. Taehyung tried to help him stand but he slapped his hands away, shouting, "Don't touch me." He tried to stand up on his own, but feeling a massive pain in his stomach stopped him. He gripped his bum, groaning softly at first but later on turned into panicked and pained screams. He felt the edge of his clothing wet, and when he looked down, his heart stopped beating at the terrifying sight. Taehyung was in a panic. The moment he saw Jungkook's fall was like slow motion. He didn't want to continue watching. The world was suddenly quiet and you couldn't hear anything. His mind wasn't processing. He just stood there, dumbfounded, but that was until he heard the pained cries of his husband. It only then sank in.